live, or not live, but hey, welcome to another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files. Tonight we're here to talk about Iron Maiden, and tonight I've asked my panel to pick out their favorite songs from the band Iron Maiden. My love affair with this band began the first day that I bought the first album at a local mall, a store called Record World in town. I would go, back in the day when you'd go, before internet and everything, and you'd just go to a record store on release day because you'd want to see what was coming out and look through the stuff. And of course, I saw that album cover with Eddie on, and I'm like, I bought it. I didn't hear this record before. I bought that, unhearing it. And of course, from there, it's been Iron Maiden all along. And I also picked up Def Leppard on Through the Night on the same trip to the store. And then I got to see them on the Killers tour with Judas Priest at the Allentown Fairgrounds. It's another historic kind of dirt track like we have in Middletown, Orange County. Did shows back in the day too. I've seen them numerous times over the years. My last one was part of the Legacy of the Beast tour at the Barclays Center. I also caught the Book of Souls tour like 3 times. Once at MSG in New York City, Prudential Center, and Barclay Center on the second leg of the tour with Ghost opening up. So I guess we'll just get started. And who would like to go first? I'll introduce the panel. We got John McEntee, of course, one of our regular hosts from Mighty Incantation. We got Dan Gonzalez from Gruesome and Possessed. We've got Prika from NERVOSA. We've got Robin, Amazing Mazen from Gruesome, DERKETA, and Manager to the Stars, of course. And we've got Nicholas Franco making a rare appearance on the show from the Sea of Tranquility channel and Hudson Valley Squares. And last night we spoke about Iron Maiden Dream Set List on last night's episode. So we're well versed in Iron Maiden for this week. And hey, Nick, since you're the biggest Iron Maiden fan here, we're just going to go around the bend. So give us like your number 5 and your number 4 song, and we'll do that with everybody. Then we'll go around for 3, 2, 1. How's that?
Excellent.
All right, great. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. So just my number 5 song is Hallowed Be Thy Name, off of 1982's Number of the Beast. I don't think that's much of a surprise or a stretch. It's one of the most epic songs I've ever heard in my life, as you guys are probably agree. And the way it starts out and the way it ends up are totally different. And it's one of the most engrossing things to see Bruce do live. It raises the hair in the back of my neck, the way when he sings at the end,
Yeah.
And then my number 4, I'm going off the list I did with Pardo. Some of these songs could really interchange given whatever day of the week it is, but I'll keep it to what it was. Now, my number 4 Maiden song is Phantom of the Opera from the debut album, Iron Maiden. It's another, just the guitar, again, and I'm the only non-musician here, well, you and me, Keeler, but
me too.
So you guys play instruments, and me trying to describe guitar sounds is ridiculous because I don't have the language, but I love the guitars. I just love the way the song switches gears so much. And I remember reading that Dennis Stratton, I think, had a very hard time learning it. Because it was serious business, especially for then, and it's held up. It sounds like it could have been written yesterday, and it's one of my favorite songs. Phantom of the Opera. Love Paul's voice on it as well. He had a great. Even though he wasn't meant to last in that band, you cannot besmirch that man's contributions. They have stood the test of time. So Phantom of the Opera, number 4.
Now, I'm a little disappointed in Nick again. I was disappointed in him last night with these choices because he doesn't have his Iron Maiden cape on that he wears to the shows, and he forgot it again tonight, and I'm really upset.
The cape only comes out at the live shows when
No, I feel like I need to see the cape.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
It's in my closet somewhere.
Go get it. Go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it. You're not gonna be
Next time around, we want to see the cape.
Yeah, I'll wear it next time. But it's just something
on your profile. I'm gonna go.
It's probably somewhere in my Facebook.
Is it on your Facebook? I'm gonna go.
It might be deep in there somewhere. Yeah. But I started doing that in 2012 because I don't know, man. It's just like I decided to take the poster flag and tie it around my neck. And seeing Iron Maiden is the only closest thing to a religious experience I've ever could feel. and I just wanted to make it like a fucking total, immersive lunatic experience. So there it is, Cape.
Cool. Who wants to go next? I'm going to pick somebody out here. On my screen, the next person in line is Prika Amaral from the mighty Nervosa. It's honor to have you back on Rock Fantasy Files. What can you say about your Iron Maiden songs?
Oh, it's really hard to choose 5 songs, because it's almost impossible. But when I was, just looking all the albums and everything, I have to say the Keeler's album, it's entire good. So for me, all the
I
songs,
I like this girl.
all these songs for me are the best. For me,
Yes,
it's
I agree.
outside of the Keelers, I can choose 5.
I actually agree 100% with that. Holy crap.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 minutes to midnight. I love this song. That's such a great song, and I really like to put this when we are change the year, in the Happy New Year, like 2 minutes. This is something that I do normally.
Me too.
And
I think that's a staple. Everybody has to do it.
Yeah.
That's the New Year's Eve song now. You were saying 2 minutes to midnight is the New Year's Eve song. Guy Lombardo's out of here.
Yes, of course. So the Moonchild, it's the second one.
That was a great
Yeah.
song.
The Trooper.
Okay.
And Children of the Damned. I think it's one of the best vocal lines. I love the melodic voice and everything, all the feelings this song has. It's a very special song for me. And Power Slave. And I also love the cover that Testament did with this song. It's amazing, But this is very hard because probably
That is very hard.
Yeah, I will change these songs after to think better.
I mean, the one I'm having even more problems with, we're doing an episode on with Immolation later in the week, and I'm like, how do you pick Immolation albums or songs even? Because every album's good. It's just very, it's just like, how do you, like, Immolation just keep putting out great albums, and it's tough to pick out. So, I mean, all these bands that were near and dear to our hearts are hard. I mean, Maiden to me lost me a bit in the 90s with the Blaze Bayley stuff. I know that Nick likes some of that stuff too, but I kind of got lost with that. And I do like the newer Maiden stuff, the 2000 stuff. Cool. So
Caveat is I like when Bruce sings those songs. That brought that to life.
The Blaze Bayley songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He does a good job, but with the Klansman, is it?
Mhm.
I seen him play.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Even songs from the X Factor, he does great.
Yeah.
stuff.
I agree.
Cool. So we're gonna things just shuffled around. John went from this corner down to this corner, and now Robin's in this corner over here. So
Sorry about
I'm
that.
gonna go with I'm actually gonna go with John next, actually. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, well, great to be here. Let's see here. Well, I agree with Prika that Killers is the best album, but you know that from the last episode we did on Killers.
We were just on the Killers album.
Yeah, so I also decided to not pick any song off Killers because that'll just take my top 5 and then everything else is it's like, what is that? That album has, I guess, what, like 10 songs? So my top 10 is Killers, and then all the other songs come after that. But yeah, it really is my favorite. But I basically just picked like my favorite song from like my top 5 minus Killers albums.
Okay.
Because I like the whole album of Iron Maiden. If I don't like one song, I usually don't like the whole album of Iron Maiden. Some of the stuff is a little too progressive for me later on, but
okay,
when it comes to like the first 5 or 6 or whatever it is, it's like every song on each album is pretty much pretty awesome. Even the worst ones are killer. So But yeah, so I'm picking a Flash of the Blade from Power Slave.
Nice.
Okay.
I just love that album, that song especially. It just has killer guitar work on that. I just love that, just that way it starts off with that whole cool guitar vibe and everything,
Yeah.
and just killer vocal performance, everything on that album. I mean, really, yeah, really everything on the album and that song is just top notch, you know. So yeah, that's just, and it's a song that I would really enjoy seeing them play live if they were going to play live. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, I don't remember. I did see him for my first time was on the Power Slave tour, and damn if I remember if they even played it live. They might. I don't
Yeah,
know if they did.
we need Chris Alla for this
Yeah,
historian
I can't
stuff.
remember because it was too long ago. I mean, that was in what, 84, 85. I forgot when he did like the 5-night stint at Radio City Music Hall. was
Oh,
when I
yeah,
seen him
yeah.
at.
84, 85, yeah.
Yeah, and
My buddy
yeah.
fell asleep during the Rhyme and Answer Mariner.
I
Well,
hope you
Sorry
punched
for
him in the
that
dick.
moment.
I went to the,
He was
I think
like-
it was the second or the third show of that, and Bruce Dickinson was sick at that
Oh.
those shows, and I mean the music was great, but yeah, it sounded kind of horrible. You know, it was like a bummer first time seeing him. I mean, he was sick,
Yeah.
so you know, and I can't even remember. I just remember it not sounding the greatest, but it was still an amazing show, and I mean the music all sounded great and stuff, and actually. Which made it sound worse for Bruce at that show was that Queensryche was opening up,
Oh,
and they were,
wow, yeah,
and it
that's
was like
right.
on their first album, The Warning, you know, so they were playing all
Oh,
stuff of
yeah.
Queen of the Reich and The Warning, and so that was like for me, that's the best time of Queensryche. So
Oh, yeah.
it was like amazing to see that as the opening band, but then like I said. Bruce Dickinson had like a flu or something like that,
Yeah.
and I think actually that the night after ours that we went, I think he canceled the show because it was just too much
much.
trouble. Yeah, and that was actually another show that my mom and my aunt brought me to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So just making notes of that because they were just talking about that one another episode. I can't remember what.
Yeah,
But
we were talking about you getting a ride to the garden to see
oh,
Priest.
Judas Priest, yeah, my
Yeah,
first
yeah,
show,
yeah.
Judas Priest, yeah, and they're
And
throwing
Ozzy,
the
I think.
cushions. Yeah, and she took me. No, Ozzy, the Ozzy one, no, it was Kiss. She took me to see
Oh, it was
Kiss.
Kiss.
It was.
There
Let me
was a
just think.
couple, anyhow,
Yeah,
a couple of the big arena shows
yeah,
back in the
Kiss.
day
Yeah,
when John was a young chap and didn't have a license yet.
yeah. Well, it was. I wanted to go to shows. My mom was like, "I'm not going to let you go to some crazy heavy metal concert," and she, had no idea what it was like, you know. But
Mhm.
after a couple of them, she was okay. I think after she took me to see Motorhead, Merciful Fate, and Exciter, she's like, "I don't really need to go anymore," you know. She had enough.
So your mom actually didn't wait in the car or go read a book somewhere. She actually came into the
No, she
show.
came in. Yeah, I mean, she thought the Iron Maiden show was very entertaining.
Yeah. And she was at Radio City. Yeah. And of course, it's a
Yeah,
nice theater to go see a show at, of course. I mean,
yeah.
and
But
I mean, it has to be tough bringing Queensryche on the road when they're doing the Warning tour because that album is just so amazing. It was it's almost, it's just what a lot of bands don't want a band that hot opening up for them, but
yeah,
probably Iron Maiden is one of the few that could handle it at that time.
Well, Iron Maiden doesn't bring anybody that can challenge them and hasn't done it for a long, long time.
but
They always bring a peculiar opener most of the time.
Yeah,
but
like the kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
what
Like
was
the
it?
kids bands.
I mean, the Queensryche show opening was amazing. I mean, they played stuff like
Oh,
Lady Wore Black and stuff off the EP. They played a bunch of those, like played a bunch of EP songs and a
yep,
bunch of
yeah.
new songs, and it was just an amazing show. But this isn't the Queensryche show, so I guess I'll stick
Yeah,
to
No,
we'll
Iron
save
Maiden.
that for.
Note the panel. We have to plan a Queensryche show, Robin, and we'll get on that. And I think
Me
we're
and
going
John have been already talking.
we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that one. Sure,
But
sure.
anyway, yeah, and the moral of the story is that was my first time seeing Iron Maiden. So
Yeah.
even though Power Slave is probably my fifth favorite album, and
Yeah.
it's still an important album. I mean, to be the fifth favorite Iron Maiden album is still super high in the level of awesomeness.
Cool. So you can give us your number 4 song too. If you
Oh,
want.
going 4 too. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we'll do
right. I
5.
forgot. Yeah, I'm gonna go then for number 4 would be The Prisoner. I think that's just a killer song.
Cool.
And I did get to see him play that once live, and that was just super awesome. And yeah, just a Number of the Beast is a iconic album. I mean, it's a great album. What's that?
I'm not a number.
Steve
Yeah,
singing.
yeah, it's just such a great album. The way it starts off with the drums and just that, it's just amazing. It's
Yeah.
a phenomenal song. And yeah, I mean, it's Iron Maiden, it's a killer song, but the whole Number of the Beast album is a great album too. It just, the only thing that would make it better is probably if Paul Di'Anno was on vocals. Nobody said nothing about, no one cares.
I
I
Okay.
don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I'm just trying to be an asshole. It's cool. I mean, Bruce Dickinson rules, but I like to be controversial.
And we probably should have had Steve Lovin on. He would have totally agreed with that. It's like, oh, Dickinson. You always had that.
Nah,
rule that
Dickinson's
people-
great.
Yeah, Dickinson is great.
I love them both, really.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I just
do
like to be
This,
provocative.
I have the local band Sanctuary, who I thought we were going to have one of the guys on tonight as a guest, and he didn't make it. And they play our parties. They played our Halloween bashes at a club in town. They played my anniversary shows the last couple of years, and we could still have shows. And some nights you're just in the mood to hear them do piano stuff. Sometimes you're in the mood to hear the Dickinson stuff. That's I think they're all great stuff, of course.
Hmm.
So I guess we'll move over to Mr. Daniel Gonzalez, because I know never to let Robin go early in the program. She doesn't like.
I have a lot to say for this episode, so
Oh,
yeah.
I'm glad, because there's only
Got
a
a lot.
couple of them.
Yeah, it's really difficult for me to like choose 5. So I made a list of
That's
like
fine.
the first few albums, and there's like 30 songs. Luckily, a lot of you already named a lot of these songs, so I guess I won't say them.
Oh, no, you can say if you
Sam?
like them.
They're your
say 'em.
favorites.
There's
Well, I
only
mean,
6
I'd
of
rather
us.
say other songs that are
You
favorite.
can still
mine, too.
you can still take somebody else's pick and add your own.
6.
All right, well,
Yeah,
I guess I'll say well, just a little bit of, Maiden was like my first like real heavy metal love when I was just a kid, maybe like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
My dad had the Number of the Beast vinyl, and I fell in love with the cover, of course. And once I played it, I'm like, yep, this is my kind of shit. So it's been my favorite band ever since. But doing this kind of lists, I think like I have like 2 type of songs. There's like the songs that I like to like listen to as a listener, and then there's songs I like as a musician.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard, but anyway.
Give us either. You can give us both
yeah.
if you like.
For example, from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which I think is an amazing album. Moonchild, which somebody already mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's one of the best album openers, I think. That song is really amazing. The structure and melodies and everything is incredible. But I also love Infinite Dreams. That song gets
great song.
looked past a lot. I know it starts all slow and mellow and whatever, but it gets really interesting musically later on. So that's a song I love. Then there's Somewhere in Time, which is another album I love. And one of my favorite songs from Maiden overall, I can't really put a number on it, but it's The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
Yeah, nice.
I love that song. And I'm 98% sure that that's the fastest Maiden song ever recorded.
I might
As
Google
far
it
as,
to
as far
check.
as drumming,
Best of the
I mean,
Gangland?
oh yeah.
I
Okay.
haven't listened to that for
Yeah.
a while. I have to pay attention.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and has those Nico's like it sounds like double kicks, but he doesn't use double kicks, so you know it's an amazing song.
It says, not to cut you off, but it says Purgatory and Ancient Mariner. That's what it says here, which doesn't, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it, and I put a metronome to him and figure it out. But at least feels like the fastest.
Yeah.
But
And it says
that one,
they've never really played that live.
you know, they never did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never played it live. Wow.
Yeah.
Caught
that's
Somewhere
right.
in
We were
Time.
talking about that last
Another
night,
amazing
yeah.
song, really.
Yes,
Another one that they don't play live.
Yes, it is.
And,
What did Chris
and I guess I'm
Allen
gonna.
say? Sorry,
Sorry.
I'm choking.
I guess I'm gonna end this part of the conversation with the self-titled. I think John mentioned Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yeah.
Somebody else did.
Yeah.
That's an amazing song. It's super catchy and has so many like different musical passages that, you know, tempo changes, you know, mood changes, dynamic changes. That song is amazing. But Transylvania, the instrumental, that song is amazing, dude.
Yeah.
They were playing it live in the early 90s.
Okay.
And it sounded great live. And I would say like Prowler, it's a great song too. It's very like a good rock song for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Great.
you can add a little to the episode that Dan here works in Miami at some of the venues when he's not playing in one of his bands. And what exactly do you do down there? And you had some interactions with Iron Maiden rehearsing, and they usually start their tours off. You had mentioned.
Yeah, they usually start the American tours here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So they usually come to my work, which is a giant warehouse, and they practice there. So they come there. They come for like a month before, and you know, to me that's like usually when my boss knows that they're coming, he comes to me and it's like, hey, so that you know that they're coming, so you gotta keep it cool because he knows that like I'm like a fanboy. But I'm usually very professional, you know, and they're walking around and hanging out, so you know, I play very cool. But they've signed, you know, pictures for me, gave me pics.
Nice.
They're super cool guys, for real, for real. You know, I've taken pictures with them, talked with them, help them set up, and you know, I'm lucky enough to literally see every little piece of gear they use, all their
Nice.
guitars, you know, how they wire it, how, you know, all the stuff they have. They bring their own monitoring system, you know, like I think last time they had the same PA and monitors from the original Seventh Son with Seventh Son tour.
Oh wow.
They all like painted like, you know, like blue, like sky type colors. So
Yeah.
so it's really cool. So I'm really lucky to be able to experience one of my favorite bands like that.
For sure.
For sure. So
Do all your friends ask you to hang out at your work around that time?
well, I don't really tell anybody. Just
He
that.
doesn't
Oh, now they're
tell
good.
us
Now
till
they
the
are.
end. He sends a
You know,
picture
I don't
like
want to lose my
as they're
job
leaving.
either. I
Yeah.
don't lose my job either, but you know,
Yeah.
at least I show them the pictures of the gear on the racks because you know they don't really care, it's just gear or whatever. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
other than that, I'm very professional and stay out of their way, you know. And,
Dan,
Like,
you know what I'd like to ask, just from you having that experience of seeing their gear like that, how do they balance out having the three guitarists? Like, I've heard they got to be urban legends from people who don't like Yannick Gers.
All right, well,
I think
You know the answer. I've heard people say that he doesn't actually play anything unless it's like his solo or all this. I don't believe it. I mean,
I was gonna say it depends on the song. If it's a song like, you know, one of the originals that he wrote,
right?
and more involved in it, they probably bring him up on the mix
Okay.
more than, you know, if it's some other song that he never really played, they kind of like blend him in, somewhere in the center, like it's really sonically difficult to like have 3 lead guitar players like playing a full power the whole time. So
Right.
I'm sure they balance out. I'm sure like Dave is the only one that's always blasting, because he's the remaining constant force in the band. So
right. Okay. Yeah. Always wondered that.
Yeah.
People like to talk shit, and I don't know what's true. You're an actual.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but that's what kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and Dan were hanging out after an episode, I don't know, a month or two ago, me and Robin. We usually chill out after we get done taping and have a drink or something. He was just kind of talking about, we started talking about pinball, and he said, well, yeah, I played the Iron Maiden pinball machine because Iron Maiden had it with them on the tour. And
oh yeah, last time they brought it just so like their crew and they could play, when they were taking breaks or whatever. So kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, I have the pro version and the premium version. The pro version I have here in the house, and the premium I have up at the shop for people to play. And what a great, no one ever, Iron Maiden, they're not popular enough to make a pinball. Like, they're not going to make
They
that.
have their own airplane.
They are.
These two people that are metalheads are like, they're not popular enough.
They have their own jet. Like, come on.
They have a plane. That's all you need to say to.
And they come
just fine.
And then they come out with this pinball machine that Keith Elwin, who people won't know about unless they know about pinball, who was one of the former world champ and playing competitively, designed this game. And even if you didn't like Iron Maiden, you were going to love that pinball machine because it has this weird flow. And I mean, it's a great game. But I probably should have had somebody from Stern Pinball on tonight too. I didn't even think about that. So. Come on, I'm dropping it here. Hey, Nick, I got you, but you're really mellow tonight. You're not all wired up tonight.
I was sauced up last night, man. I must have said the F word like 300 times.
Pete Pardo, and you left your energy. Now you're not giving it to the Rock Fantasy Files.
I do like that version of me. I know. I'm more humble because look at you guys. You guys are all awesome.
Oh, you're nervous because you're hanging around rock stars.
But you're like the professional.
Yeah.
Nick.
You're gonna delete me after you hear my comments.
No, I don't. I've heard everything about it. I could. Butch doesn't like anything he did past a certain year. I'm used to that. It's all.
Oh yeah. Butch hates anything past whatever year. Yeah.
I wanted to just say when John, you were talking about your mom and your aunt taking you to see seeing shows when you were a kid like Merciful Fate and Motorhead and all the stuff you mentioned, and I don't know. I'm not going to ask your age because it's not polite.
I don't care. I'm 50 years old. I don't care.
I'm
used to it.
I'm 44, and I guess my mom was watching Phil Donahue. He was a talk show host.
Prika. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Prika. Yeah, we're like, Phil Donahue.
Yeah, you guys know who Phil Donahue is, but Phil Donahue was like a talk show host, and he had this one show where he was like, heavy metal concerts. What's really happening? And it was this one concert where some idiot jumped off of a balcony and broke his neck. It was probably a hardcore show. And my mom saw that, and that was it. I couldn't go to a concert until I was like 17. So I didn't get any of that. I missed the first time I ever saw Iron Maiden was with Blaze Bayley. They were headlining Fear Factory.
Yeah, I remember that.
Y'all just sounded very like sad for you for a second. Like they were just,
Yeah, that's terrible.
I like the X Factor a lot and Virtual.
Oh, no, I do too. But I mean, for me, but it was in a small enough club that I was up front, and I remember Steve Harris was looking right at me and like looking at all of us, whatever. But I was like a little girl at an NSYNC concert. I was like, so that was really cool. But I've made up for it. I think I've seen Iron Maiden probably. I don't think I've reached 20 just yet, but I've probably seen them almost 20 times. I made it. I go 3 times a tour, but nothing like what you guys have seen.
We're lucky for where Nick and I live. We live near New York City for people that are watching from all over the place, and we can usually catch a major tour, whether it's Iron Maiden or anybody that's playing, like the amphitheaters or the arenas, we can go to New York City.
Mhm.
We can go to Jones Beach for like amphitheaters, Jones Beach. We can go to PNC. We could go to Philly, and we could go to Scranton. So you get choices to be able to see if you're really adamant, passionate about seeing a band, like a great tour package, even if it's in clubs. If you live in the New York area, you can catch it a few times. Sometimes you're lucky enough where it'll come in the beginning of the tour to New York, and then it'll end like in Philly
Long Island or something.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, of course, John and Robin used to live in the area too, so they know.
Well, with Maiden, I've also done the thing where I started doing this where I would buy 2 tickets to 2 shows. One, I would drink at and go
2 tickets to
Maiden because I'm an idiot.
Sorry, that's so
And then
bad.
I would get, that's very
sorry.
good. I like
Just
that.
2 tickets to Paradise.
I'm gonna hang up now.
No, you can't
Yeah,
leave.
2 tickets to Maiden Paradise. But yeah, and I would buy one and I'd be like, okay, I'm not drinking. I'm going to fucking pay attention and remember it. Because then when you get sauced up and shithoused, then, you're like, I had a great time, but I don't quite remember everything that happened. So I was like that anal about it where I would go twice. That became 3 times.
And why not? And now that we can't go to any shows for a fucking year,
Oh, yeah.
who's going to complain when we went to see Maiden 3 times on the same tour? I'm certainly not going to be.
I'm glad I did. I think I was supposed
Yeah.
to see Prika. You guys were going to play New York last year, right? With weren't you going to play New York or no?
With Amorphous.
There's Chris.
Yeah, with Amorphous, right?
Yes, but it was canceled. I don't know if we can reschedule, postpone.
Oh,
I
right.
don't
Yeah,
know.
but I just remember I was going to go to 3
Yeah.
of those because I love Amorphous. And you guys I really want to see Nervosa. I missed one chance to see you guys, and then I really regret that. But hopefully I can, someday we can make it happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
We've already been talking with Tony Dolan and some of the other bands, and John, we're gonna try to put together some kind of a festival here in New York, and Chris Caffery will have to butter up the Orange County Fair Speedway because he's got some clout. He played the national anthem there for the 100th anniversary of the track and did it Jimi Hendrix style. Chris, welcome to the show. I'm glad you popped in tonight.
Well, I'm a little bit later than I'm usually late. No, I actually was. But I had an excuse. I had my friend Ira Black. It was his 50th birthday, and they were having a Zoom thing for Ira,
Nice.
and they had a lot of people saying happy birthday. And I was trying not to be rude, but I wanted to be like, look, I gotta leave. But I finally got to say my happy birthday in my bit and get out of there. But I made it over here, and
Cool. So we were just going to Robin, unless you want Chris to go in front of you, Robin, since he just popped in. Either or.
I mean, like I said, I have a lot of things here.
All right,
So if I can wait. I
All right,
have
so
like
where
a
are you
whole
at? What did I miss?
we were just talking about our
every song that you would pick on your list.
like songs. I was saying everybody to pick like 5 Maiden songs and some honorable mentions.
Pick 30, so yeah.
So if you want to give us a couple songs, and we'll come back at the end and get your final 3. If you want to do like 6, 5, 4, or 4 and 5, something like that.
Well, I was thinking of records, and even though because
Well, you can do records if you want, whatever you want.
I was having trouble with this, but I think where I'm gonna have to go with the records is to go my 3, 2, 1, and I have to do. I mean, it was real hard to leave out Power Slave, but I'm putting Peace of Mind as my 3.
Okay.
Good choice.
I'm putting Killers as my 2, and then I'm putting.
Good choice.
Should
be 1, but it's good.
Number the Beast is my 1. I'm putting this one as number 1 just because it was a really big statement for that band. Not that Killers wasn't a great record. It's really hard because some of my favorite songs are like Murders in the Rue Morgue and stuff off of Killers. But I think Number of the Beast was a real statement record. And watching this Maiden on that. So actually, I was a really bad photographer when I was 13, but this photo was from when Maiden was opening for Priest on Point of Entry. There's a blurry Paul Di'Anno, but that's my seat. I was leaning on the stage at the Palladium up in the front of that one. And
that's the first time I ever saw him also.
Then I had my first time that Maiden played the Palladium headlining was the Beast on the Road thing. I have my tour book here, and this is actually, it's weird because inside of it, it's signed by everybody, but I think I didn't get to see everyone to get this signed. So
Okay.
Clive didn't sign this, and Dave didn't sign this. Everybody else did, but I have their autographs. I have Clive and Dave's and Diano's on a Maiden picture that I couldn't
wow.
find from the year
Okay.
before. But yeah, I think I have to pick those 3 records in that order. I mean, I also, there were so many songs that I used to play live, like Hallowed Be Thy Name and
Oh,
Killers and Rats. Yeah, my club bands, we used to, when I was a kid, we used to play a ton of Maiden. And
so Auntie played those songs?
yeah, we used to play
Oh,
Rat
okay.
Child, we used to play Hallowed Be Thy Name, we used to play a lot of things. So
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to pick Maiden stuff. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Wasted Years is one of those songs
Ah.
that, you know, it's in my top 5 for sure. It's just, you know, so it's like picking songs and picking records. It's practically impossible with this band, because you could go back to the Iron Maiden record and go, oh, okay, there's 5 of my
Yeah.
favorite 5 songs there on that, you know. So
Yeah, it's a
it's
pretty
tough.
impossible task.
Yeah, I
that
think
I
this
ask
is
everybody,
actually
but-
probably more difficult than any of the bands that you had to pick your favorite songs. But I got to meet them through Priest when I was 13, and they always used to take me backstage. Savatage only did 1 show with Maiden down at an arena in Tampa, so we never toured.
Oh,
with them.
really?
Yeah,
They play with them at the show?
toured. We never toured. Yeah, we played 1 at the arena down there. We never got to tour. We never had a Maiden tour. The only Maiden person we toured with was Blaze Bailey's band opened for Savatage for a European tour.
Oh,
Yeah, so Blaze was out opening for us. And it was funny because I would walk by his dressing room and I would hear him, and he had a young band of English kids. They were definitely a lot younger than him. And
okay.
he would sit there and try to explain to them what to do on stage and how to be on stage. And I would always laugh because you'd walk by and I would always hear the accent, and I'd always hear, now, when I was in Iron Maiden, you know, he was trying to explain to them what to do on stage and how to do it. But I must have heard him say that particular quote like 50 times. You got to remember, when I was in Iron Maiden, like, oh God. But Blaze is a nice guy. And, you know, it definitely was a difficult task for him, because not only was he replacing Bruce Dickinson, his voice was not of that particular caliber to do those songs. So no matter what he did, he was fighting hell to do that. And we did do some songs with Diano, and I played some songs with Diano in Metal Church in England. I had met Diano when I was a little kid, like when I was, like I said, 13, and I was really surprised when I met him again. He was just as goofy and funny as anybody I'd ever met in my life. Because you see Paul Diano, you figure after all these years, he might have some kind of, you know, grudge against the world for not being where he was. Just funny, goofy, happy, just a really happy guy. He was one of those people like Brian Johnson, when you met him, that you didn't even think about who he was, or you spent all your time laughing at his jokes. But yeah, it's like I said, I could go on for hours with Maiden, and I don't interrupt anybody any further. But those are my records. And it's funny, I just happened to find my vinyl. I looked for everything. I've been trying to find all the Mountain King records for Steve's store that I have a box of. I can't find. I found the 3 Maidens before tonight. And actually, didn't Number of the Beast get released today?
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday was the anniversary. Yeah. Of it. Yeah.
That was just, I remember seeing them at the Palladium, and before Maiden went on, I think the Rods opened for them. Before they went on, somebody threw a firecracker, an M80 or something, down off the deck or somewhere into the crowd, and it blew up. And we'd never seen Dickinson. Dickinson just got into Maiden, and he walked out onto that stage in between the Rods and Maiden, grabbed the microphone, and screamed out at whoever this was. And this was the first that New York City got to see Bruce Dickinson. And he was like, whoever the fuck you are, you come up here and I'm gonna kick your fucking ass. And it was like, all right, this guy's cool. So that was the first New York City got to see, or Bruce Dickinson, was him walking up on the stage and telling whoever it was that just lit a firework to come up there, and he would kick their ass. So that was, it was pretty cool.
When you played with them at Tampa, I think John was trying to ask a question. What were you going to ask him, John, when he was talking about the Tampa gig?
Oh no, I'm just asking you. I can't believe you never played with Maiden.
You know, it never lined up for us to play
with everyone,
them, you know,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, I mean, a lot of the times that we were going to tour with Maiden was the Blaze times. So,
Okay.
you know, so Savatage was bigger than Maiden without Bruce in Europe. We didn't need to. We didn't need to open for me. I mean, when we were touring with Priest, we were out merching them. You know, it's like we were big enough to where, you know, obviously we would never headline over Maiden themselves, but I never, you know, Savatage a lot of those tours. And the Mountain King tour, it was just the very end of it. We got one show with them, but it never really lined up. And I mean, Savatage hasn't played for 20 years, so all these other new current tours that went on, we weren't touring to do. I mean, hopefully with the as everybody's seen now, I mean, Aliva's kind of let the cat out of the bag. I mean, we're working on Savatage now, so
good.
Who knows what's gonna happen next year? But it would be awesome. I mean,
who did you? What tour was it that you played with? That you opened up for Iron Maiden in Tampa? What tour were they on then?
Whatever tour, God, I don't even remember what tour.
Was it Dickinson then?
No,
it was Dickinson. It was Dickinson at that time.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like 87, 88.
Then that had Summer in Time.
Yeah, it was Summer on Time. Yeah, I think it was Summer on Time. Yeah, it was just one. It was a one-off. They came in, and whoever it was that was opening for them couldn't do it. And
I think the one time that they came around, it was Ingve.
Yeah, remember that.
Something happened at that gig, and Savatage wound up getting it. We lived in Tampa, and that's, you know, it was the band's hometown, so it was really.
But I do remember a band on one of them that the band didn't show up. They had some, I can't remember. I'll have to go back because I don't have, like, you guys all remember like your everything, and I'm
I don't remember either, but
I don't remember shit.
I guess we were talking about the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour. That was one of my memorable shows, seeing them. They were at the Poughkeepsie Mid-Hudson Civic Center. We talked in depth about this on Hudson Valley Squares on Sea of Tranquility last night. That it was a hot summer day, and it was the hottest probably building that I've ever been in my life. Ace Frehley was the opening act. And I can just remember going in there, and I was a young kid in pretty good shape, was in my 20s. And I mean, it was just oppressive, like stinky heat. And I guess we found out through Butch Jones that Bruce Dickinson ordered no air conditioning because it would affect his vocals. But I mean, there wasn't a door of ventilation or anything open. It was so hot in there that it was dripping from the ceiling, like the humidity, and actually the sprinklers and the fire alarms went off from heat sensors.
That place, the ceiling is so low. I mean, I forget what. Like,
were you at that show,
no, I wasn't. I was actually, I think, living in Tampa at that time when they did that one. What was the first time Maiden did the Civic Center? Was it Peace of Mind when they did?
You know, I didn't see the Peace of Mind tour there. I saw it in Glens Falls.
So I think I did see it there, but
there too. I was upstate and I did that one instead. But,
yeah, you couldn't imagine those arena shows because I think that was the first time that they went and actually played the Garden too. They did a Garden at the end of that tour or something. But you wouldn't picture that show being able to fit in the Civic Center, and you watched it. When I played there with TSO, the ceiling there is so low. And I can't imagine what it would be like.
You mean over, like, low over the stage? I mean,
but that was the time of park hands and lights with heat. I mean, I played there with TSO and we were using all LED stuff, and that stuff doesn't give off nearly as much heat. I can't imagine what that band felt on stage for those arena lights being that low.
Yeah, it was so hot at that thing. It was like a physical fitness test. It was like seeing an Ozfest when it was like 110 in Philly on blacktop.
That was the Maiden and
At least you
Coney
were
Hatch
outside.
Fastway. Coney Hatch, I remember Coney Hatch showed up in a little freaking RV, like a little camper.
Yeah, I saw that tour. Yeah, but
Fastway.
like literally, it was so
I love
hot.
Fastway.
I love Fastway. Okay.
Fastway was one of the greatest opening bands. Some bands are like
Fastway. All right, that's a whole other
Fastway was
episode.
an awesome opening band.
That's a whole other episode.
You were excited when Fastway was your opening band.
I'm always excited if Fastway is involved somehow.
Yeah, they were.
Always.
You want me to sing it for you? I'll get my mic out.
Dave King was a freaking awesome singer, but they were.
We
they
need
were
to do a
great.
Fastway episode. That's it.
Yeah.
Fastway.
I'm down. I
wow.
Okay.
love them.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Sorry, I got super
Iron
distracted.
Maiden. Back to when I was an
That's
Iron
Iron
Maiden.
Back to
But it
Maiden.
was so hot at this concert that when you went up to the bathroom, at least the guys' bathroom,
How hot was it?
I wasn't in the women's bathroom, but you would take your shirt off and put it in the sink and then put it back on. It was that hot in there.
Yeah, we did some shows in Europe that were like with the venues that had no ventilation in the summer.
Yeah.
It wasn't because we asked to turn the air conditioning off. It's just these venues didn't have any air conditioning. Yeah, Europe,
You speak of?
They don't love air conditioning. You can get hotels there where there's no air conditioning in the summer.
Oh, boy.
That's
Well, I guess I'm going to go next, and I'm going to give my couple songs, and then we'll move over to Robin, and we'll come back around to whoever we start off with. And
Nick.
we started with Nick, then we went to Prika. Yeah, I lost it because for some reason my squares keep switching around here, and I've only had one beer, but I am a bit confused.
Those crazy squares.
So I'm gonna since we had 6 panelists, now we got 7, so I kind of ruins the gimmick. I'm gonna go with Number of the Beast for number 6. The song Number of the Beast, it could be number 1. I don't think these are in any particular order. Like this is almost an impossible. We had to have some kind of topic for this. So we're picking songs that we like, but I could pick like 3 or 4 albums worth of songs, almost like Dan was echoing what Dan said earlier. And at number 5, I'm going with Wrathchild. And number 4, I'm going with the Phantom of the Opera. So those are and then I'll come back and do my 3, 2, 1, and give you some honorable. I guess I could give honorable mentions now. Aces High, Caught Somewhere in Time, The Evil That Men Do, and of course the epic Fear of the Dark. From an album I really don't like many other songs from. In that era, after Seventh Son, I kind of lost Iron Maiden for a while till they came back with Brave New World, which I thought was a great comeback album. And I love Ghost of Navigator from that album. I like a lot of songs from that album. Out of the Silent Planet. And I'm even going to mention something from the Book of Souls. So I like the Book of Souls album a lot. I thought it was a great album. And Nick and I escaped one for a couple of these. And If Eternity Should Fail, I thought was a great song. Death and Glory. There's a lot of great songs on there. The Red and the Black. And I thought they're still putting out quality material after so many years. So with Iron Maiden.
You forgot the 2 really important honorable mentions: Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding.
Yes.
those
Chemical
are
Wedding's
my
a
2
great
favorite.
one.
Chemical Wedding and Accident of Birth are my 2 favorite Maiden albums.
That's the only
Especially
time I got
90s era.
Yeah.
The only
Adrian
time I
and
got
Bruce.
to meet Bruce Dickinson was at an Industry Smooth thing in the city. It was like in New York. It was at like an Irish pub, and it was for a Tattooed Millionaire tour. And I got a call from Epic or something. You want to come down and do cocktails or whatever? And Bruce was going to be here, so I got my photo with Bruce. That's the only time I've ever met the band or met Bruce. I haven't met anybody else from the band over the years. Paul Diano, I think, played in Middletown, right, Krista? Weren't you at that gig? They played at the Class, I think.
Yeah, he was there. He played in Middleton. He played in
Was that
Middleton.
like it was like Paul Diano's Battle Zone, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
That's this thing that he had in England 10 years or 20 years later when his head was shaved and he didn't really look like Paul Diano, but he was still Paul Diano. And he was funny. Like I said, he was just joke after joke after joke.
Yeah.
He couldn't stop
Cool.
laughing. Yeah.
So I guess we'll move over to Robin. We made her wait over an hour to come on.
I've been having anxiety about this.
He's never coming back.
Okay, I gotta put my glasses on so I could read my
All
notes.
right, all right.
So like basically, I don't even know, like I'm gonna save like my other stuff for when we come back. But I mean, Iron Maiden was one of those bands, like through high school, they were like such a big deal to me in high school. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have gotten through half of my high school classes, because all their songs like had something to do with what I was learning at that point. You're like, oh, Alexander the Great. Oh, wait, Quest for Fire. Oh, Flight of Icarus. Like everything was like, their lyrics had everything to do and helped me pass English, history. You know, it was like
Quest for Fire is historically incorrect.
It doesn't matter, but my history teacher in 10th grade, she used to make us watch, she made us watch Quest for Fire, and she made fun of me the whole time because I was like a metalhead, and she basically was like, oh, you probably like these guys in this movie, don't you? Because they're all like long-haired cavemen looking dude. So anyway, that's a whole different subject. But yeah,
no, history and Iron Maiden goes along well. My
well,
buddy,
but that's what I mean. Like even with English and their, you know, like poems and everything, when you were learning about like, you know, classic works and stuff, they really helped like my high school career with that, you know. And then there was I have like so many stories and like weird stories, and like I told, like we did the Paul Di'Anno episode, basically, well, the Killers episode. And like I told you, I skipped school to meet Paul Di'Anno. That was like one of those. But I mean, in high school, my whole 4 years of high school, my bus number was 666.
Oh,
was it?
Yeah, it was 666. So me and my friend, we changed all the lyrics to 666, the number of the bus. And like I still have it somewhere, like, you know, like fuel and engine exhaust respond to be released, like, you know, and lighters blaze and curse words phrase, like, and all kinds of stupid shit. But yeah, so that was like one of those things. And I mean, so this is another this is another crazy thing. So I used to hang out at a bowling alley. Like I feel like that's like a Jersey thing. You hang out at a bowling alley. And my whole life I hung out at a bowling alley from the time I was like probably 4 years old. So I was hanging out at the bowling alley, and at one point I was in high school, and I see these 4 older people. Like to me, they were probably older, but looking back, they were probably in their 50s. And they all had Iron Maiden shirts on.
Wow.
So like me, I was like curious about this, and all my friends were like, don't go talk to them. I'm like, I need to know why these older people are wearing these Iron Maiden shirts. Like it was like a whole weird, you know, like how do you wear no Iron Maiden at, you know, your age, like kind of thing. And it turned out the 2 people, the couple and their friends, but the couple, Sandra and Bruno, their daughter worked for Capitol Records. And Iron Maiden sponsored their bowling team.
Wow.
Nice.
So crazily enough,
cool.
I like got to become very good friends with Sandra and their daughter. And they used to, you know, she used to send me all kinds of stuff. Like I've seen Iron Maiden a couple of times, and, you know, with backstage passes, and I would go with Sandra and my mom. So, and thinking about that too, I think my mom was probably in her 40s at that point, and Sandra was older. So, and I remember Bruce Dickinson hit on my mom, and I was like, go for it. She's like, but I'm married to your father. Like,
doesn't matter.
I can't imitate my mother.
No, by law.
I can't imitate her, but you get it. I was like, go for it. Like,
Yeah, no.
I'm like, come on, it's Bruce Dickinson. What are you thinking? Like, you know.
Yeah, there's a law. You can go for it.
I was like, Dad, be okay with this. Like, trust me.
Once in a lifetime.
It's a once in a lifetime chance. But my mom went a few times and all that, and it's just like really crazy stuff. And I was very good friends with Sandra like her whole life until, you know, she passed away, rest in peace. But from all that, I wound up getting like, I mean, I think I have so much Iron Maiden memorabilia that's like just crazy. I have combs and flashlights and
You do?
yeah, like Iron Maiden flashlights, and I have every single tour shirt from Somewhere in Time from every single city.
I've never seen an Iron Maiden flashlight. I didn't know they made such a thing.
I have an Iron Maiden flashlight. It says Iron Maiden on it.
You didn't
But
bring it
yeah,
for the
every
show?
single tour shirt from Somewhere in Time, even including, you know, like Behind the Iron Curtain, everything. I have the Charlotte and the Harlot shirt. I also
Wow.
have Bruce Dickinson's Iron What shirt.
Oh,
So yes, I
you
do.
make a lot of noises. That's cool.
So you not only, I thought you
Um,
just had Metallica stuff.
No, like I mean, if like I love Metallica and James Hetfield, but like
That's
Iron
for
Maiden
sure.
was like my. I have a shirt that's like airbrush. It says Iron Maiden rules on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they were a major like they're a major staple in my life for a very
Yeah.
long time. Is for like everything. I freaking love them, and you know, like I said, I have so many things. Like I mean, in high school and Summer in Time, you know, I remember that came out and everybody had to play that on guitar, even if you couldn't. It was just like the Summer in Time riff, like over and over again. Like I think it was like one of those things. So as far as like I said, I have so many songs, like, or so many songs and so many stories and
no,
weirdness. Like I've never seen Iron Maiden without some crazy story.
but wait a minute, you never skipped school to go meet them?
I only skipped school to meet Paul Diano. I didn't need to skip
Oh,
school
okay,
because
okay.
my mom took me. My mom took me for the shows and I had backstage passes. So I was lucky. And then the last time I saw Maiden actually was in California, and it was on the Ghost tour with Ghost and Exodus, and then Exodus opening up, and what a freaking disaster. Like they let Exodus like use like all of their stuff, and then the whole PA crashed, and then the
Wow.
guy had to mix. Our sound guy had to mix from the behind the stage on the same desk as the monitor dude, so they were sharing the same desk, while Iron Maiden's monitor dude was talking to their front of house guy, asking if you could hear things. It was a
Wow.
nightmare. It was a total nightmare. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I've seen Iron Maiden, but every time I've seen Iron Maiden, it's been like in those circumstances, either like being with the opening band or backstage, you know, or being on a festival or,
Yeah.
you know,
Were
and
you
then
at
the one time I actually went and we had a suite. I went with Slagle and he got a suite and Lady Gaga was next to us, which was weird.
I was at a metal show. It wasn't a Maiden show, but we were at the PNC and we were all like, you know, around where the soundboard was, because we had passes, and Lady Gaga was at that show. And I forget. And everybody was like, "Don't you want your picture of Lady Gaga?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't need a picture of Lady
No, it was
Gaga."
really weird. She was like sitting next to us with her boyfriend. It was
I didn't
weird.
need one. I was like, "Nah, she's
Yeah.
I love her.
music. I'm not taking a picture of her."
Yeah, well, she was at Iron Maiden, so
Yeah.
Loves Iron Maiden. I love her.
yeah.
I think she was.
But as
it
far
might
as
have been-
like, you know,
might
as
have
far
been the
as
Slayer
songs,
tour.
it's.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I freaking love Steve Harris. Like, I mean, who doesn't? But like, I mean, and you know, no, don't worry, Nick. You know, even if I play, I can't describe stuff. I'm like, chunky, make
Yeah.
it, dun, dun, dun. Like it's the same. Like, don't feel bad that you that you don't know terms or whatever. I'm terrible. So, but I mean, as far as a bass player goes for a heavy metal band or just a bass player in general, it's like, holy shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he plays like it's just unbelievable. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Steve Harris, man.
He's my
So-
favorite. Yeah.
So like as far as songs, I mean, you know,
Pick a couple.
I
throw 'em
love.
out.
Okay, so my it's man. Okay, so Strange in a Strange Land, I guess maybe as far as
Yes.
that song's phenomenal.
Mhm.
Flight of Icarus, of course. Where Eagles Dare, and Jesus. Okay, and then my next one, if I'm saving my other ones, I'm gonna pick Total Eclipse. That
Yes.
song is so good, and it, you know, it was just like it's like not like your typical Maiden song, in my opinion, like as far as it goes, but I love that song, and I think they hate it.
But it wasn't part of the original release, though.
It was released on the Japan version and then reissued later.
Yeah,
like
I think
20 years later.
Yeah, like how many, like 20 years later or something
Yeah.
insane, or 10 years later. But
Yeah,
I mean,
they
I don't
made a
think they
video
liked it.
for it, though.
Huh?
yeah.
They made a video for it in
But I mean, the
82.
song is like, I love that song, and I think it needs more Love.
More love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I agree.
It's a good
It's a
song.
great song.
It's a
Yeah.
great song. So, yeah, those are my, I mean, like I said, I can talk about Maiden, like all my crazy stories,
Well,
and
we're gonna come back and we're gonna get some
yeah,
more
just
stories
come
from
back
you.
to me so I can regroup myself.
I got my Eddie Trooper toy from Super 7.
But yeah, I do. I have every
nostalgia.
single Iron Maiden shirt from Somewhere in Time tour, like every single one in bins in my storage unit.
Nice.
Yeah, I even have jigsaw puzzles.
Huh?
You got a jigsaw puzzle.
Puzzle.
A
Maiden puzzle.
puzzle. Nice.
I could tell a quick little story about Iron Maiden and a link to Middletown. I go to the stock car race. There's a historic dirt track here in town, and there, one year there's like a pro stock, which is like a full size, like a late model type race car, and it comes out and it's full of Iron Maiden. I figured, well, this guy's probably just a fan of Iron Maiden and had the artwork put on. I forget which tour it was. I think it was actually related to a tour. I believe it's the one when they had the jet and they were flying from spot to spot with their own plane. And I found out the guy's name. I went down into the pit area because I always do. And I'm like, hey, what's the deal with Iron Maiden? And his name is Joe Allen. And some of you guys might know Joe. He was good friends with Steve Harris. And I know he did some work and toured around with the band. And that was like an interesting little story from Middletown, and this guy racing an Iron Maiden stock car, which was cool as hell. And to me, at least, because I'm into that stuff. And going on about Iron Maiden with history, my friend Michael Score, who was a vocalist for All Out War, as a history teacher in high school, and he uses Iron Maiden for some of his lessons. And he also uses Sabaton, of course, because they talk about war. So, I mean, he uses metal to turn the kids on to that. And I mean, most of the kids don't even know what heavy metal is in high school in United States and New York State. But he uses some of those lessons. So enough from me. So I think we're back to Nick Franco.
My good friend Flo, I got to give her a shout out. Flo lives in Baltimore, Maryland. She grew up by me up in New York.
Okay.
She's a like an inner city public school teacher and of elementary school, and she uses Iron Maiden with her kids. And these kids are like, 8 years old, I think, 10, 9, somewhere in that realm. And there was a couple of children from a background that, would not have, especially in 2020 or whatever, they wouldn't have heard Iron Maiden. That really got into it. It shows you if you get kids at the right time, they're open to things, So
yeah,
that made me think of that. I got to give her a shout out. She's a huge fan. So yeah, I mean, like you, Dan, I made a list we did another video, but I did 50 because like
50.
I'd lose my mind if I'm not going to say all 50, but
how fast can you say all 50 right now? How fast?
No, but no, but I'll run down. I mean,
50 right now.
My top, like, let's say real quick, my top 20. I mean, I got Prowler, Aces High, Stranger to Strange Land, and Passchendaele from, oh God, Dance of Death. I think Passchendaele's
that's a good song.
It's about World War I, which never gets any love. Absolute masterpiece. Really takes you back to that feeling that you got in the 80s with them. I think they really, that's a late career gem by that band. And then where am I? Murders in the Rue Morgue, Sea of Madness. I think I got the sense that maybe Daniel, you love Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son, and then Power Slave. Maybe is that your favorite era, or am I miss?
I love I guess you kind of divide like those 3 first albums with the last. Well, not the last. The next 3, they're kind of like different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess musically they became more like, I don't know, even more epic in those 3 albums, like Power Slave to Seventh Son of the Seventh Son.
Yeah.
So
well, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, when I was growing up, those like probably the most I heard.
Yeah.
Also, like Steven was saying, he was talking about he saw that Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour. I mean, I'm younger, so you know, obviously I missed all of that. But I had, when I was a kid, I had a VHS tape of the Made in England.
Oh,
And I wore that.
have that too.
You know, I wore that tape down, dude.
Yep.
So like, you know, a lot of that, I guess, you know, they were playing a lot of those more recent songs in the tour. So, you know, I guess I grew up with, you know, listening to those a lot more than the other albums. But
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I love that video. Well, you know, my Maiden origin story, I'm 44, and like I said, I didn't get to go to the concerts. By the time I was old enough to go to concerts, Bruce was out of Maiden.
Yeah.
Was out of Halloween. Metallica, I don't know what they became, you know, and everything just Slayer even too. Like you know. So everything, I was like, all right, I'm here. Oh, everyone's gone. Great. Oh, Pearl Jam, cool. You know, so. But you know, I feel like I don't feel rooked at all because I feel like we got it all back. You know, I think everything came full circle. But my Maiden origin.
Giving you dirty looks over here, just so you know.
Sorry. My Maiden origin story is wandering into my older brother's room and listening to Number of the Beast, to the song, and it's the only time my mother. I'm bringing up my mother like a negative way, but she just passed like 6 months ago. She was amazing. But that's the only time she ever like was like, whoa, what are you listening to? Because just the Vincent Price speech, I mean that speech, you know, So that's the only time she ever said anything about music. Because I listened to like Guns N' Roses and Metallica and like, you know, Poison, Molly, like all that stuff when I was a kid, and they're singing about, you know, whatever they sang about, you know, partying and girls and beer and all this crap and drugs. And meanwhile, you know, that didn't get her attention. But anyway. And then a few years went by, and then basically somebody gave me Power Slave and Somewhere in Time at the exact same time. I got both of those. They were on either side of a tape that he made me or something. And that's truly what captured me. So my first real falling in love with Maiden was Power Slave and Somewhere in Time. And at that point, it would have been shortly after Seventh Son had come out. So for me, I got to go backwards and forwards a little bit with Maiden. So I got to like discover all of it within like, there was like 1 year, 1 or 2 years of school. You know, things moved a lot slower in those days because there was no internet, there was nothing. So, you know, I just, however I could get the albums. And so I had this really incredible, like, I don't know many people who had that type of thing where you got to go back to like the first album and also, you know, Seventh Son. And then of course, you know, when No Prayer for the Dying, I was like, okay, things are changed. That's not as good. And Fear the Dark. And then Bruce left. So where am I?
You were still going through your top 50 there. You got interrupted.
No, I won't do all that. I got Ron the Ancient Mariner, The Trooper, Clairvoyant, Sign of the Cross, because that song effing rules.
A good song.
Yep. Only the Good Die Young. And that's up to 10. And then 9 is 2 Minutes to Midnight. I had Caught Somewhere in Time, To Tame a Land, which I think is a masterpiece, and I just wish they'd play it. Where Eagles Dare, because that's just, I mean, come on, that song is amazing.
Yes.
And then you guys heard my 5 and 4, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and Fan of the Opera. And then I had Number of the Beast at 3. I mean, I know that's such a, you know, song everybody knows, but that goddamn thing just,
that's fine.
It's so exciting when they play it live.
The reason that someone everybody knows.
Yeah, and then the top 2 songs by them that I always waffle between are Wasted Years and Power Slave. They can go 1 or 2. Wasted Years is probably my favorite song in the world. And the video for Wasted Years.
I love the video.
Yeah, you know, they go back through all the eddies back to the beginning, like it's sci-fi. It's and then all the like the you know, little video clips of them and doing.
Oh, it's a good video. That was one of my favorite videos when they used to play it on Headbangers Ball.
Yes, right before they played, Ricky Rackman would play Blind Melon and whatever else the corporation. But yeah, it was so that's pretty much my top thing, top whatever. Yeah.
I got to do it. Do you ever hear, Steve? Did you ever hear the version of Run to the Hills I did for that one Maiden tribute record?
I'm not sure if I have.
I have to. I'll put it on. I'll send it to you. It's
yeah, sure, or something.
Called "Slave to the Power" was a record. John West sang, and Jeff from Savatage played drums on it, and we did Run to the Hills. Run to the Hills is one of those songs where it's like you like it, but it was still kind of goofy. Even that video was goofy. It had that.
That was a fun video though.
Yeah, it was a fun video. But that
Yeah,
you know, the funny thing with that song, that was the first time you got to see Maiden's Spastic Lights that Dave Lights did. And Dave Lights, their light guy. We were opening for Dio with Savatage, and I'm watching Dio the first night, and I'm watching Dio's lights, and I'm like, this has got to be Dave Lights, because I mean, Dio's lights were moving like Maiden's lights, and it was. And he was a really, really funny and nice guy. Him and my light guy, because Brian Hartley, the TSO light guy, he was Savatage's light guy in '87 on that Dio tour. He was my first professional light guy ever.
Nice.
And Dave Lights got on our tour bus one night before a day off in Florida, and him and my light guy were up the whole entire night. I woke up the next morning, they were still up, and they had like 10 arena light shows designed on the front table of the bus. They had too much coffee and were up all night long. It was like wired at their minds. And I got up and there was like 10 years of arena light shows on the front desk of our bus and of our front table. But yeah, I that specific light pattern, he was really, really spastic with those lights. And I think that in the later years, they did try to get back to it a little bit in their light shows. It's not Dave Lights, but they went back to a little bit of that frantic thing they had with their lights. But that design and that style was Dave Lights. He actually had a specific thing that he did that you saw in that Run to the Hills video for the first time. But it's a pretty decent cover.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll have to check it out. Share it to the page, and I'll share it over on one of our pages so you can check it out. And Nick, you got a question?
Yes.
And then we go over to Prika.
Is for Prika. Yeah, my question is for Prika.
Oh, it is.
Prika, you're from Brazil.
Yeah.
Where do you live? Anywhere near Rio? And were you able to? I know you're a lot younger than.
You're stealing my question.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, like, have you gotten to experience like one of those psychotically crowded Maiden shows in your home?
I was actually thinking that too, like the Rock in Rio Iron Maiden. I was actually.
Yes, exactly. I live in São Paulo. São Paulo, it's almost 6 hours driving. It's a little bit far, and I watched Iron Maiden 3 times. One was not really watched, because when they came to Brazil, they just played in a stadium, and the price is super high. And so, yeah, this is something common in Brazil. It's usually, because we go to the front of the stadium just to listen to the show.
Okay.
So this was my first experience with Iron Maiden. This was something around 2008, something like that. And then I had the opportunity to see them live and bought the tickets in 2015, I guess. And then we play in Rock in Rio in 2019, and Iron Maiden make a part of the, the Brazilian culture, because every single Rock in Rio Iron Maiden is playing there. The next Rock in Rio, they already announced the Iron Maiden. So yes, this was the 3rd time that I watched them live. When we played together there, we played in a different stage. Yeah, this was in a different stage, but it was, incredible feeling. There was 70,000 person there. A lot of people. Yeah, it was an ocean of people there, and
what year was it?
Yeah, 2019.
2019. Okay, so they were on the Legacy of the Beast tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was awesome feeling, and for me it was very emotional because I played there. It was the last show of Slayer, and playing the same day, and seeing Iron Maiden there was awesome.
Yeah, I feel like
That's like for
and
me, when I think of Rock in Rio, I always just think it's Iron Maiden. Like it's
I
those
think of
two
Maiden.
things,
Yeah,
like, I
oh
feel
yeah.
like they're the main, like that's their concert almost. Like I don't know why, but I've always felt
Hey,
that
I
maybe
tell
'cause
you,
I did, like a lot of stuff from that, like videos and stuff. But I
like,
just put those two things together always.
oh yeah, and I
Yeah.
always and I think Nick was talking on an episode we did on Sea of Tranquility about a South American show. I'm not sure what it was, but you were talking about a song that Iron Maiden played. I don't think it was Brazil. It might have been in Chile.
no, it was Brazil, and you know what? It caused a little bit of a stir in the comments.
Oh, it did. So should we go into it? So
Prika, you know what, Prika, you're gonna either make me like feel like, okay, good, I said the right thing, or admit that I was wrong to all those people, but it's okay.
Okay.
I was talking about how moving it was when Iron Maiden played the Klansman in the Rock in Rio from 2001 or 2000.
Yes. Yeah, I remember this. I watched it live on television. Was
Oh.
something that made me. Yeah.
You felt it, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I mean, again, and I'm not Brazilian. I've never been there, but I thought that there was a little more meaning to that song about freedom in a country that has experienced maybe some problems within the country from the government being corrupt. I mean, I grew up on Sepultura, so that was for kids like myself in the very early 90s, getting to see the videos that Sepultura made and brought attention to what was going on. And that was my indication from reading interviews with them that maybe, it wasn't always smooth going in Brazil. And I said that I thought that a song like The Klansman about freedom carried a bit more resonance. Do you know what I mean? Like, am I wrong? I don't know. Because some people were like, I live in Brazil and it's great. Shut the fuck up. You dumb American. I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like there had to be a little something to that, no?
No, you are right, because the history about Brazil is political, it's very weird, and it's very hard to explain, because we live a long season of dictator, and we became a democratic country in 1990,
Right.
so it's very, and our first president had impeachment. So everything's happened in Brazil, it's wrong about politicians,
Yeah.
So being Rock in Rio, to have opportunity to be in a really good festival and huge festival, it's I can, Brazil still have opportunity to see these shows came, to our country, because it's big in our economy. It's bad, but it's not so bad like other countries in Latin America, example. So many things happen in Brazil, mainly in São Paulo and Rio, example. And I'm lucky because I live close to São Paulo, but other people in Brazil and in north of Brazil, example, never had any chance to see these. So when they have the chance to see Rock in Rio, example, they expend a money that they are keeping for many years, and everyone go there, and just a freedom time, of course, about the politicians and everything, but it's something about money as well, it's like it's a dream for them to travel to Rio to watch them live just once in the life, the whole life. So
It means a lot.
That's
this was what I thinking when I was playing in Rock in Rio, and when I was watching them in live shows, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe everything was passing in my mind like this, it's I feel really rich, with this opportunity.
Some of the like performances from Rock in Rio with Iron Maiden. I mean, the other band that I relate with Rock in Rio from being in the States, and of course another person that's never been to your country, is when Rush played there. This Rush did a Rio DVD also, and they were even talking about it on an interview with Getty, how they were shocked how everybody knew every word to everything, and it's just like the crowd, the energy that the crowd gives the band, and it flows back and forth. It's just something, those concerts, like just something special. And I was relating with the song Blood Brothers. It's like a song that some people were like, Chris Allen was like, I can't stand that song. And I said, I love that song because it's about the metal brotherhood. And it's just like everybody gets along, all nationalities and races and color. When we get into a metal show, you know, it's just, I love that song. That was one of the songs that I was talking about, and from the Rock and Rio set too.
Yeah, I mean, South Americans are crazy about metal, so.
And I love it.
Yeah,
but some of Savatage's best shows ever were down in Brazil. We did a Monsters of Rock there that there's some videos from, and our headliners. So those crowds and them, and for me, it's a tie between the Brazilians and the Greeks. The Greek kids are pretty crazy too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The Greek
Greeks are good.
fans are nuts. But it's a little bit different though. The Greek fans are just crazy because they're crazy. The Brazilian kids are really, they have that energy because they use that part of their lives to really express their, you know, their emotions come out through themselves at the concert. So that was the Greek kids are just drunk and nuts. I mean, it's a big difference between the two. That's just, the Greeks are just crazy. I mean, and I got
we better warn Prika, because she has a Greek kid playing drums for her right now.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. I was
So she
signed
knows
for a Greek-
firsthand.
My first solo came out on a Greek label. You know what was funny about the first time I went getting off the main thing? The first time we went to Brazil, we were out doing something, an autograph thing at that Manifesto place or whatever that is down there. There's a club in Sao Paulo that we did an autograph thing, and the taxi.
Carioca Club.
But the taxi driver did not stop at the red lights on the way back to the hotel. And we're going, why aren't you stopping? He's like, it's night. It's way too dangerous. Cannot stop at the lights. He was not stopping at the red lights at night because he said it was too dangerous that people would try to jump into the car at night.
Yeah, carjacking. Yeah.
My very first time in Brazil, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. No,
But this is real. And now it's worse.
No,
have to be careful, yeah.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah.
So I guess it was Prika's turn anyhow to talk, but you kind of gave your list already. What else would you like to add to the episode about Iron Maiden? I guess we kind of filled a lot of the bases already. I just wanted to give you your time since you were kind enough to give us your time.
And I have to say something because I heard many histories here in Brazil. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that Paul Dayano lived in Brazil some years ago.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. And there's many weird histories about this. I don't know if it's true. I will not tell anything because it's not something that I.
As far as I know, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
So too. I heard that also.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. A lot of musicians, like, you know, like Dave Murray, he lives in Hawaii. And I know Steve Harris and Rob Halford, they live in Texas.
Yeah.
Nicky McBrain lives here, and they all have properties here. So it's not surprising that.
And Paul Dayano had a lineup. Yeah. He had a lineup of Brazilians at the time. I can't remember who they were, but it was basically his band was Brazilian. So he just moved down here. I guess it was cheaper for him to live too, you know?
Probably.
Yeah. And I heard that he married with a Brazilian, but I don't know. I just heard the histories, you know.
I heard about that too.
Yeah. And we played with Blaze Bayley in 2014 or 13.
Okay.
And there is a photo with him eating a huge leg of maybe chicken. I don't know what it is, but it was huge. And he was with a Nervosa t-shirt, you know.
Oh.
And it was very epic.
Like one of those like medieval turkey legs.
Yeah, probably.
When I was an Iron Maiden,
I was like this. I have to find this photo and post it again because it's a very awesome photo.
Organic, like medieval, like turkey leg.
But when I was teenager, you know, I was super rebel and I was concentrated in extreme metal, you know. And I say bullshit like teenagers stuff, you know, like I don't like Iron Maiden because it's too much mainstream or something like that, you know. It's too melodic for me. That's big part of teenagers, you know. But what changed my mind when I listened Keeler's example, and I like this band. Which band it is? And I have no idea it was Iron Maiden. And someone told me, and this is Iron Maiden. No, are you kidding me? Yes, it's Iron Maiden. I love Iron Maiden, you know. And then I start to put this push it behind, and I love Iron Maiden. I love all the albums, but Killers for me has that feeling that many bands has in the beginning of the band, you know, and with a lot of good energy and really wish to do the best and don't thinking too much about the strategy, you know, to pretend to do something. It was very natural. We can hear that on that, and we can and I love, for me, it's my favorite album ever. Killers is my favorite one.
Okay.
And I also like Power Slave and Peace of Mind. For me, it's my top 3, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we have to say something about the art covers, you know, for Iron Maiden, because I think they are awesome. And it's very, it's very emblematic, you know. It's an Iron Maiden
high
style.
school, like having to draw, like the artist had his own symbol, and that's like we all drew like his symbol, like more than you drew anything else.
I did.
Right? Like it was weird. He had his own symbol, and it was more iconic than some of the other.
And how much time did you spend looking at the Somewhere in Time cover,
looking for it,
finding new shit? That
a lot, but that's, you know, that's what I mean. Like like what artist for a band has that, you know what I mean? Like
I think it's
they had their
everybody's.
own, so like I think I have like all my like.
Stephen, the thing is that's not Derek Riggs. That's not the same artist.
No, I know it's not. I'm just.
What was the last one he did?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
I still dig the art.
Like, I can't even draw, so like, I mean, Dan knows my drawing skills. I portrait him a lot.
Here's the proper. Here's the Derek Riggs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
I mean, like, as an artist, like, he was just as iconic as the albums that came out. Like, it was like, I paid more attention to him than I think any other album cover for any band.
I mean, having Eddie and having the imagery is any band's dream, because it's just like it was just an amazing situation. I mean, how many T-shirts have they sold just because of the artwork?
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude. That's all I can say. Dude.
Yeah, and Power Slave has one of the most beautiful art covers. But I think
Power Slave's so good.
I think and I think on the other hand, they have one of the worst art cover ever.
Dance of
Which
Death.
is the worst?
Dance of the Death. Dance of the Death is horrible.
Yeah,
the worst.
Still,
The worst art cover ever.
Ever.
I still don't understand how.
What is that baby? What is that baby standing there? There's a baby.
I don't understand how EMI was just like, you know what? Yeah, let's release this cover. It's awesome. Put it out.
I don't know what you guys are telling. I'm like behind now. I don't know.
Who's got the
I got it.
It's like digital artwork. It's
very digital. Yeah, you're right. That's definitely not a Derek Riggs cover. I didn't even try to show anything that bad.
Yeah, so
now I feel like I need to try and
it's not good. It's like the Sims. Like the game, the video game, basically, it looks like that. The Sims.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe they were thinking about to do some revolution, you know. Oh, we need to do something different. I don't know, you know. Maybe this what came in from a trip, you know.
There we go.
This abomination.
I can't tell what that is.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want
talk.
There's a weird baby.
I don't have the album here at home, so.
Why is there a baby? Is it a rebirth?
The baby's sitting on the dog. What is the baby doing?
Why is there a baby on a dog? Hold on.
Baby on a dog.
Yeah, it does really suck.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna have to revisit. I'm gonna revisit this after the episode. Okay.
All right. We'll play it. We'll play it during the after party when after we go off. No.
That's the after party talk about.
Not everybody will go home as they're playing that one.
Good band photo though. Good band photo. There they are. Very serious.
Well, I can't see that.
Anyhow.
A lot of people.
Anyhow, Prika, do you have anything more to add, or should we move over to Mr. McEntee?
No, I think it's okay now.
All right, we'll come back and we'll have you plug something that's going on with your band before we end tonight. And John, welcome back.
Hey, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, for me, I guess number 3 are we doing what, number 3, number 2, right? Are
We're
we going
doing
all the way-
3, 2, 1 right now. We're
I read like 40 of them. You can do whatever.
We're in the
Okay.
roundup. You can do the top
And there's
50
no
if you
rules
want.
anymore.
For me,
The
I'm
rules
going
are
with
out the window.
for number 3. I'm going with Wicker Man. I
Oh.
think that's just a killer song. I love that
Wow.
song and love
I'm
that.
gonna say I'm surprised that I mean like.
Wait, I'm gonna put my
Jim
glasses
Belushi
on to
liked
hear you better.
Superman.
Well, I mean, I hear all this talk about Somewhere in Time and these other ones. What's it, the space one or whatever it is? I can't remember
Final
what the other.
Frontier.
Yeah, no, the ones around Somewhere in Time
Oh,
and the one
Seventh
after.
Son?
Yeah, those are just like, I don't know. Those get way too much
God.
hype for how good they are. They're
There's
okay
a
albums,
space one.
but
Oh,
to me, I really, I think, Brave New World is actually a really great album. Probably
Oh,
their, to
Oh,
me,
it is.
to me, it's their best album since I'd have to say
Killers.
Power Slave. No,
wow.
Power Slave.
Wait, Dan, I need to put my glasses on so I can hear you again.
Yeah, it's their best album since Killers. No, it's not that. I mean, it's pretty damn good though. And really, it's really my favorite of all the newer albums that they did. But I remember seeing them on tour for that one. It was just amazing. I mean, all the songs off the Brave New World are just amazing. I think it's just a great album. And I do like the song Blood Brothers. I think it's a good one. It's a really united song. I mean, I think it's good. I mean, it's a good thing to have everyone united. I remember at the Partisan Festival in Europe, they
Okay.
have a tent where they're playing metal and stuff, and everyone is like, drunk, just hugging each other, listening to,
Oh, yeah.
Blood Brothers. It's perfect. It's
Hey, but
perfect.
Manowar did it first.
I agree.
Wait,
The
Dan.
Manowar
Yeah.
didn't play Blood Brothers, did they?
No, but
brothers
they're-
of metal.
Yeah, but no, I know what you're saying, and I agree. I'm a Man of War fan too. I love that stuff.
I'm
But
just joking.
yeah, but I think so that's my number my number 3. And also just a
Alright.
quick note is that when they came back before that to do their kind of like their first reunion tour, Bruce Dickinson, that tour was amazing. I mean, I remember them playing, they played even songs off some of those albums I don't like so much, like Fear of the Dark and stuff. And it actually sounded killer. Like the band just sounded rejuvenated, like it was on fire, which that's what I thought they kind of lost on some of those albums on the Somewhere in Time, that the talent level was really high, but the attack on those albums were just too mellow for me. It seemed like they were going for it technical, but they weren't going for it with that attack in the song to say that.
They used too many synth guitars.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say.
it's kind of
Yeah, yeah.
kind of like these days where their songs get a little bit too progressive. It's like every song has like a 5-minute intro, then like a 10-minute middle area, and then another 5-minute outro. It's just too much to have every song like that. But enough of me slagging on Maiden.
Don't slag on Maiden. We're supposed to be talking good about them.
My number 2 would have to be what was I picking for number 2?
Innocent Exile.
No, it was
Oh, you have to do Killers.
it's something
Killer's number 1.
off. It was something off Peace of Mind, because I just love that album. That was actually
Life.
probably Where Eagles Dare. I mean, I remember
Okay.
that was really the first album I actually bought that I remember of Iron Maiden. And I just remember playing it in my stereo in my living room in my house. And just once those drums came in, it was just like, I
Yeah.
just knew that it just, the sound of that album is just really great. I think it sounds better than like Number of the Beast production wise. I think it's probably
Yeah.
their best sounding, their most metal sounding album. Like, to me, Defenders of Fate was Judas Priest's metal sounding album, most metal album. And this is like Iron Maiden's most metal sounding album, in my opinion, at least.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I like the whole album. The whole album's amazing, but I'll go Where Eagles Dare, because I mean, it's an amazing song. And it just hit me when I first heard it. I was just like, hell yeah, this is metal,
Yeah, yeah.
And then number 1, I mean, just go with I guess I have to go with the Iron Maiden. I'm not picking Killers on purpose because I already
Because we covered the 40th
Yeah.
anniversary of Killers.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
everybody might have watched that, but yeah.
so I was having a hard time picking a favorite off this one too, because
Uh,
Phantom of the Opera is so good, and I was gonna pick that one as my favorite, but then Transylvania is amazing too. I mean, really,
Yeah.
every song on that album is great, but I think again the opener, Prowler, that's so killer. The way
Yeah.
just that guitar does a wah 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 ba-dum bum. That's such a great intro. Like for like your first time hearing Maiden, especially for the people that was like the first song they heard. It's a really killer, catchy song. It just has that good chugging vibe in the song, and I don't know. But that whole album, I mean, the first Iron Maiden album was just so good. I mean,
One thing about that song, I don't mean to interrupt
yeah,
you,
go ahead.
but Dave Murray wrote it, and he doesn't write that many songs, but that's one of those hits that he wrote.
Yeah.
And basically, he's the main reason why I play guitar now. So, like, I
Okay.
know every song that he ever wrote because he's like one of my major influences. So,
Yeah.
I
And
agree with you on Prowler for
and
sure.
I think Prowler kind of like, to me, when I hear that song, I just think Iron Maiden. I mean, I guess like any song, but for some reason that song just identifies me as like Iron Maiden, even though the song Iron Maiden identifies me with Iron Maiden too. But Prowler does. It just has a vibe. When I first hear that, it just brings you back to the early 80s vibe. Because there's so many metal bands at that time that like totally nicked that old Iron Maiden sound on their albums. Even Savage Grace, the shirt I'm wearing now, all these bands, you listen to it, they totally sound like, they were totally nicking off that first album. And it's such an amazing, monumental album. So I go with Prowler, but I mean, any song is amazing. I
Cool.
mean, any metaler that doesn't like own that album or know that album should
Leave the hall.
leave the hall. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, John, after doing the Manowar episode, he actually started doing his own interviews. He said once he did Manowar, he can do anything.
Yes, I know. I channel the power of Manowar.
One thing that Dave Murray and
The Power of Steel.
Dave Murray and Glenn Tipton did this to guitar, and not just guitar players, to actual guitar, is they ruined the value of like tons of 1970s Strats, because everybody wanted to have a Strat with the humbucker by the bridge after seeing Dave Murray.
Yeah.
I did. I ruined the Strat.
In a Floyd Road.
I ruined the Strat because of Dave Murray and Glenn Tipton. And I think there's probably less stock, like standard Strats from the 70s than any time because of the early metal records of the 80s that came out and changed that. Unfortunately, it was before we had single coils that were made double coils, which I have on all my Strats now. I don't need to do that because you can buy a double coil that's tiny. But at that point in time, we ruined a lot of Strats. So Dave Murray and Glenn Tipton destroyed a lot of Fender Strats from the 70s and 60s. But that's definitely something that I don't even know if people realize just how much that happened. But when you saw Dave Murray with that Strat and it's like, oh wait, I've got to get that pickup in my Strat. I'm like, you just ruined the guitar.
Yeah.
But it's,
those two guitar players were super influential at that time.
oh yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, I wanted to be both of them, for sure.
Cool. So we are all wrapped up over there, John. Shall we move over to Mr. Gonzalez? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks. So I mean, actually, to keep talking about the guitar, so like I said, like Dave Murray was like one of the main influences for me to like actually take guitar seriously. And my first guitar ever when I was a kid was a PV Predator guitar, which was like a Strat clone, literally black with the white pickguard and everything. And I took that thing apart, trying to like make it like Dave Murray. And I didn't realize that, I didn't know at the time that, he has like actual Floyd Rose on it with like, like a locking system, but huge influences for sure. So for my last batch of songs, I guess, Let's see. I mean, I'm gonna go through Killers because I know John didn't. He already proclaimed his love for
Every
it.
song.
But I mean, the song "Killers" is it's an amazing song. I love that song. That the bass intro, and I remember when I was a kid that Dave Murray solo on that song is like so catchy, and I'm just like, I gotta learn how to play that. Like it's a great song.
Purgatory.
Purgatory, it's one of my favorite Maiden songs ever. That's
So
probably
good.
that's if Maiden ever played death metal, it will be like Purgatory style songs.
So
That
good.
song
Those scream. I'm sorry to interrupt you this time.
No.
Those screams in Purgatory rule too. Those Paul Diano screams and that. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a good
not
song.
only that, like musically, it's a very intricate song, even from like early '80s standards of like technical metal. It's really like not an easy song to play because you're playing like low riffs and then playing melodies. It's an amazing song. They were like way ahead of their time.
Yes.
But Murders in the Rue Morgue. So
22
amazing
Acacia
song.
Avenue had some really good guitar riffs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When they
and
break in the
actually-
middle of that song and that riff comes in, that song had some great guitar riffs in it.
Yeah, no, actually,
Yeah.
I have some stuff to say about that song. But Killers, like Innocent Exile, I love that bass intro too. That genius. But then the Number of the Beast, 22 Acacia Avenue. It's probably not a popular thing to say, but 22 Acacia Avenue
great
is
one.
probably my favorite song from that
It's
album.
one of the. It's so good. How is that not?
Yeah, that's a great
So-
song.
It's so good. And
I ruined him.
I
I
thought it was
stole
very
you.
scandalous.
I know you did. It's so good. It's so good.
When I
It's
was
all love
a
for
kid, I
me.
thought it was very scandalous. I was like, "Ooh, what is this like?"
Yeah, like I was a little surprised that nobody mentioned that song because to me that song is like
Wow.
it's
I didn't know
really
you.
good. And I know it's long and epic, but it's so catchy and like every part, there's a stop and then the next part is even better than the one before.
Yeah.
It's a great song. But
It was a
The
musical
Prisoner,
journey.
what was that?
It was a musical journey, that song. It went everywhere.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
All over the place, up, down, high, low. The solos when it slowed down into that solo. It was
yeah.
Oh, it's so good, that
melodic.
solo.
Yeah, it was that was a great
It's like
guitar
it's
song.
like 2 minutes of solos. It's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
they went
good.
They went from slapper and biter to like, wait a minute, maybe you should this lifestyle. I'm sorry.
Then there's
I never
The
thought of it
Prisoner.
that way when I was playing it. I think this is a great solo. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're a prostitute. We
Yeah.
love this. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe this is.
Let me go listen to this again.
Yeah, exactly. I remember like reading the lyrics as a kid, and I was just like, okay, whatever. Like I don't really get it. And it's like, oh, I see what they're talking about. And then I learned that it's actually a continuation from Charlotte the Harlot.
Charlotte and the Harlots.
So that made the whole thing. And actually, Hooky Mouth from No Pray for the Dying is the third part of that song.
Hooks in You.
Hooks in You, sorry.
Yeah, you.
Hook 'em Out, the
I was like,
Mega
Amazing
maybe that's
song.
what it's called.
Mega
Hooks in
Cheese.
You.
You got the wrong cooking mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the wrong Hooky Mouth for sure.
Yeah.
Hooks in You. Yeah.
Hallowed Be Thy Name. That's a classic. Everybody loves it. But like Robin said, Total Eclipse should have been in the original release for sure.
Yes.
Total Eclipse is a great song.
Yes.
Can't believe it wasn't.
Which is another Dave Murray song too. He wrote that song.
It's
Mhm.
so good. It's
Somebody said last night that it was either Butch or Aloe in our other show said that it was a matter of the length, the amount that they could fit on the vinyl
Yeah,
at
that makes
that
sense.
time.
I mean,
That's why.
it does make sense, but
Yeah.
I feel like they used to like it and then they're kind of like,
It's a great
you know.
song.
Yeah.
It was probably a label decision at that point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And just to end, I'm just gonna talk about Peace of Mind. Where Eagles
Okay.
There is an amazing song. that drum intro, the fill that Nick does, I feel like they did that on purpose because like we have a new drummer. Check it out. Check what he can do.
Here's all he gets.
Like it's just it was the statement. Like we have a new drummer, so check it out, motherfuckers. It's coming.
Yeah.
So,
Amazing.
and it's a great song too. Like those
Excellent.
melodies in the in the middle. It's a huge bridge, I guess, but it's a great song.
The way those fills work too with the riff is amazing in that song.
Yeah.
The drumming.
Yeah, for sure. Still Life. I love that song. It's another Dave Murray song. That beginning melody, and then goes into like a gallop and stuff like that. It's a great song. I don't know why I love that song so much, but it's great.
The rules.
And I think like I can say that's my favorite Maiden song ever, but To Tame a Land, it's definitely on the top 5 for sure.
Cool.
Like that's one of the songs that comes up like on shuffle or whatever, and I have to like stop whatever I'm doing and just pay attention and listen to it. It's such an epic song. The way they work the harmonies out, and different structures, and it has that second half is like those stops are very powerful song. So I could keep talking about all the other albums that I'm not really talking about, like Prepare for the Dying, The X Factor. There's so many
Well,
other
you know
songs.
what? We're gonna do a part 2 to this episode, hopefully down the road. So we'll bring it back to
Probably, yeah.
But we're running pretty long on this episode now,
Yeah.
so
It is. It's after 11.
well, we're burning almost it's almost 2 minutes to midnight, but no, not quite. It's about
It's 4 minutes after
50
midnight.
it's 56 minutes to
4
midnight.
minutes.
is it 2 minutes to midnight? It's 4 after midnight in NERVOSA land in Brazil.
Yeah, it's midnight and 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we're 1 hour before you here, so I guess
56 minutes to midnight.
I'm just gonna run through my top 3, and then we'll give it over to Robin, and we'll try to
Chris
wrap
didn't-
this up a little bit.
Chris
And,
didn't go.
Chris didn't go yet.
I don't need to go.
You're not
Actually, you know what? I won't even have.
all this
I'll
list.
jump off because he mentioned Hook and Mouth, and I started doing the Megadeth thing. I'm going to go back to that tour with Dave Lights and do a funny story for you guys. It has nothing to do with Maiden. Megadeth would be kind of Mustaine would be kind of hammered on stage, and they had that song Hook and Mouth on that So Far So Good So What record. And before they played that song, he would have his little speech about the PMRC and this and that. Right before the song would start, he would say, "Fuck you, Tipper, Hook and Mouth." Well, one of the nights when he was really shit-faced, he was up there doing his speech, and it's just funny with doing the 22 Acacia Avenue thing. He said the words backwards, and he said, "Fuck you, hooker, tipping mouth." He didn't know that he did it the wrong way, but he did, and the band and all of us were just dying because he had no idea that he said it wrong. He had no idea that he said it that way, but he said, "Fuck
that is
you, hooker."
that is the best. All right, you just can end it right there. Like,
All right, see, I didn't even need to go any further.
That's good. So,
like Prika, I don't know if Tipper Gore was head of the PMRC back in like the 80s,
80s.
and her husband was Al Gore, who is vice
Yeah,
president
she was our vice
for
president.
Bill Clinton. So yeah, that's
Almost.
He invented the internet.
it was the
That was,
beginning.
that was one of my favorite concert moments ever, I think.
It was
Holy
it was the
shit.
beginning.
Pretty,
It was,
pretty good story.
that
it
is
was
so fucking good.
it was it was the beginning of cancel culture back in the 80s. Well, here we go with Robin for her final thoughts.
Me? Oh God, I don't know. I can't. Why do I always have to follow these epic things like this?
I don't know. Well,
Holy
You better
shit.
have a better story than Chris.
I really
Yeah.
all my stories are stupid. Like so,
final thoughts.
one of the
Final
crazy
thoughts.
stories, like I also like kind of play in this thrash metal cover band. It's called Thrash Attack, And
Okay.
I mean, all we do is like just get together periodically and just jam. It's nothing fantastic. It's like we just do shows here and there, whatever. So then they have this great idea that somebody called them to like do a Maiden pre-show. So they're like,
Okay.
yeah, we can do this. And they called it Maiden Attack. And like, they were like, okay, we're going to do these Maiden songs. I'm like, okay. So all of these people that were like, you know, like super Maiden people, like that follow Maiden everywhere,
Yeah.
you know, they all show up at the show. And I'm like, man, these motherfuckers are going to be disappointed as hell. Like, but I mean, it turned out to be okay, but I was like kind of embarrassed because I was like, I can't, like, I mean, you know, having to play Steve Harris stuff is like, are you kidding me? First of all, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was crazy. So that's one of my stories. And I think I talked about it when we did the Van Halen episode. My first guitar, like I used to play guitar, and my first guitar was a Kramer, but I got it the blue color because of Steve Harris. Cause like, I don't know. I just always thought he was like, you know, the best. Like, I always thought he was like, you know, I worshiped him. And then I have a really shitty story that one time I was on tour with Strapping Young Lad.
Okay.
And we were going to Canada and they were doing a show with Maiden. And it was my birthday. And I got denied at the border and I had to stay in Buffalo.
Oh,
So they went and saw Maiden. And I was stuck in Buffalo. And I was very upset. They did get me an Iron Maiden shirt, which was nice, but it wasn't the same thing.
yeah.
The Sabres are also
Sucks.
stuck.
It was very like, I mean, actually it was, I did get to, like, Hatebreed was on tour with Typo Negative and they were playing in Buffalo. So I went to that instead, but it was not the same thing as
No.
seeing Iron Maiden on my birthday.
Oh,
Like, I was so upset. I was so mad. I'm still not over it. And anytime I go to the Canadian border, they ask me if I've ever been denied, and I told them the story because I'm still mad about it.
Hey, damn it. You made me miss
I
Iron
still
Maiden.
blame the Canadian border for making
Say-
me miss Iron Maiden.
I had to go see Hatebreed instead.
No, I was just very upset. I
No
was like, it's my
offense, Matt.
birthday. Like, are you kidding me?
oh.
So I was just, so yeah, that's I was
Of
denied at
course.
the border and I missed Iron Maiden. So as far as songs, I mean, everything everybody says, it's like, I mean, my number one favorite Iron Maiden song is Murders in the Rue Morgue. That is my number one favorite song. I think it always has been, and I don't think it's going to change. And then just every song in between Murders in the Rue Morgue till here, just add them all in.
Cool.
The
And
intro-
now
oh,
now you can all delete me, but I am so sorry. And I think Dan knows where I'm going to go with this. I'm sorry. Like, yes, Yannick is a nice person, but get him the fuck out of the band. I am so sorry. I cannot fucking stand him. Watching him
like
on
this.
stage,
Yeah, I actually felt the same way exactly
I
like that. 'Cause
cannot stand it.
But when I met him for the first time, I had
nice.
to change. This is why I had to change my opinion, because
He's
I met
super
him.
nice, but stand on the side of the stage. I don't need to see you twirling around, Steve Harris.
I got introduced to him, and he found out who I was, and he said the Hall of Mountain King was one of his favorite records ever, so I couldn't hate him anymore.
I don't hate him. I like.
It's
okay,
like I wanted him out of
him.
Maiden until he said Hall of the Mountain King's one of my favorite albums ever. I'm like, you could stay.
Okay, I don't hate him. I think he's a super nice guy. He's
He
one
is.
of the nicest people I've ever met, and I hate saying this, but
He's
please,
unnecessary.
I cannot watch
Oh.
Iron Maiden. Like, I haven't
I
been
don't
able
think
to
he's
watch
in the,
an
I
Iron
don't think he's in the
Maiden
mix.
show. And I do have wait. I do have a Facebook group. If anybody wants to join, hit me up. It's called Petition to Fire Yannick from Iron Maiden.
Boy.
I'll join, for sure.
I do, and Dan will vouch for me. I
Yannick.
have it on private. I've been asked to make it public, but it's on private for only those people that are that passionate about getting him out of the band.
The
You
diehards.
better
yeah.
get Butch
The diehards.
Jones.
I do have some things to say about this.
I'm
You know,
sorry. I
first-
just him twirling.
Jeez.
I can't
First
take
off,
it.
like the
That was
thing I
out.
didn't like about Janik is that his guitar playing was kind of sloppy and his solos were like what the fuck are you doing, dude, type thing. But especially playing Adrian Smith's solos, he was just doing like noise basically.
The last
But
Yeah.
having said that, he did write a lot of, a very good, like, post Adrian Smith Maiden era songs. Wrote a lot of really good songs.
Like El Dorado.
And he helped
to the
the
back here.
band. He helped the band stay afloat until they got
That's what I'm
back.
saying, but guess
Bruce
what?
and Adrian
Guess
again.
what? He came
Without
back and
Janik,
died.
none of that would have been
Anyhow.
it was
But that's what I'm
impossible.
saying. Nice guy. Thank you very much. Move on.
I think it
Anyhow.
says a
Oh,
lot
man,
about.
he paid his dues.
I think it
paid
says
his
a lot
dues.
about. It says a lot about the character of the other guys that they
That's
did.
what I mean, he's like what, Bruce's best friend or something?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about.
But no, he was
Gets a pass.
Bruce's guitar player for the Tattoo Millionaire.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're like best friends.
Okay.
And as far as him being plugged in, that video where his guitar goes flying into the crowd, he wasn't plugged in because you would have heard.
He's not really. If you watch Maiden live, you hear Adrian Smith. I don't think you hear much of his rhythm guitars at all. I just gotta.
So that's my rant.
The band and seeing what he's doing with
Yeah.
his hands, and when that guitar leaves his hands and spins, and you don't really hear it. But I just want to put this up. This was the middle of that Number of the Beast tour book. This was a theater show with Maiden, and this was how freaking cool that band
Nice.
was. Number of the Beast, the first theater headline, and that
That's so
picture right there is just. They had the two devils and they had the Eddie, and they just had that show in a theater with that band.
Look at him like
watching that.
Yeah.
They set a standard for metal when Maiden hit. They just set a freaking standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we
anyhow,
finish here, I wanted to bring up any of you guys, I can't find them. I don't know where they're at, but I used to be part of a fan club and they used to send those little books
Yeah.
and stuff.
I still have some of those books because every year I try to get tickets. In order to get the best seats, you have to join.
Oh,
the
they
fan
still do
club
it?
to get the pre-sale. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
Iron
Oh,
Maiden Christmas
I didn't know that.
I think I didn't renew last year because all the bullshit, but I was part of the fan club
Yeah,
for a
I've
while.
got some. I mean, they're like a little booklet. I think they come out maybe quarterly or something. They just
Yeah.
print all
Yeah,
that
they were,
stuff. Yeah.
holy crap, dude. I had those back in like 84. I think
Does that
84,
come with-
85. I used to get
the
them.
Christmas card. Is that part of that?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
get
it
the
is.
Iron Maiden Christmas card.
Then
Yeah.
I don't renew again until they come on tour. Then I have to renew it so I can get my good seats, and then I get a couple magazines and a sticker or something. Something.
Yeah,
cool.
here's a Christmas card.
Oh,
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
that.
like I've been getting the Christmas cards like since like
Christmas
85
card
or
and
something.
like all signed by them and everything.
I have a bunch of those.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are.
Anyhow.
I have a lot of those.
is it still the little books though, or are they bigger ones now?
Oh, it's like a magazine.
I have
Yeah,
some. I
it
think
used to
I
be like
have
a
the
small
very
one.
first. I think I have the very first Maiden Christmas cards.
So
I
guess
have
we
some
oughta-
too.
same
should-
same place as my Savatage records that I can't find.
Oh, those Sabaton.
Same box.
By the
In
time
the
you
same
find
box,
those-
probably eaten by a mouse by now. I'm gonna find 24
Ah.
freaking Hall of the Mountain King records chewed by mice.
the
It's
mouse.
okay.
the mouse.
It would
I'm
still
sure that
sell.
they're worth
I
a
already
pretty
have
penny
mine,
right
so I'm
now.
good.
But anyhow, I guess I ought to give my final three so we get out of here because Robin will yell at me. So you didn't give your top three. I didn't do it yet.
Yeah, you never do.
I never do. I get lost. I get lost in the panel. So I'm going to go with number 3 with Where Eagles Dare. Number 2 is 22 Acacia Avenue. And I'm going to make it a tie with Charlotte the Harlot. That's because they're both kind of goes together in my head. And I'm going Hollow Be the Name for the number 1 song. And I want to thank everybody that came on our little Iron Maiden chat tonight. And my shows are not the most professional shows by any means, but I think it's like just a few people that are into the same band. It's like if we all gathered around a fire pit or around a table in a pub and we just talked about our bands, it would be like a 2-hour visit between eating dinner or having a few beers. And this is kind of the format that the show's taken on.
It'll be a lot louder though.
Yeah, a little louder.
Yeah.
because
I would definitely be yelling a lot.
Yeah.
Me too.
I make sure I constantly screw up everything. You're even talking about the wrong band, so it's like
Yeah,
you're.
you're
surprised. I made sure I've ruined every kind of format possible every time I'm on here. So there is no format to me.
But
Fuck
I'd
Hooker.
like to thank everyone from all these amazing bands for giving their time to the channel again tonight, and having Nick from Sea of Tranquility and John from Incantation, and Dan from Gruesome and Possessed. Oh, look at, he found one. And of course,
Nah,
Rob,
I couldn't find what I was looking for, but
oh, you found something else. I think Chris
Right.
Caffery from Savatage is here, and Prika,
There you go, John. That's
NERVOSA, and I keep promoting this album. I'm trying to sell more copies for you here in the US, and you know I love it, and I'm a fanboy, so you know everything else. I want to be in NERVOSA Army. I also have a new member for the NERVOSA Army.
Oh, so cute.
Do they
I
make
want the doggy.
we need a NERVOSA shirt, because you know Daisy is a female and she could also be in the band if you ever need a backup singer or anything.
Dave,
Yeah.
she's got the black metal corpse paint on the dog.
Awesome.
She can even do a growl. Look at
She's gonna mess you up. Like, leave me alone.
Oh yeah, we're really unprofessional. We're showing our pets. Talika's got to be there. Talika went and took a nap.
Talika's already been.
I've muted Major. I figured out how to mute my sound, so you guys didn't hear him barking. He was barking a lot
Yeah,
tonight.
usually you got to take the dog out by now.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
I figured, you know what? I figured out how to mute myself, so I was able to. And that was from somebody muting me. I was like, "Oh wait, what happened? I got muted." So I figured out that I have a way to mute myself. So when he was barking, I shut him off.
Yeah.
So I recently did an episode that's coming up on the channel within a day or so with Norwegian party metal troll fest. I talked to their lead singer. I can't even talk now. See, I'm screwing everything up. And we also have a very special episode coming up on Thursday night that John put together for one of my favorite death metal bands, Immolation. And we're actually going to have the whole band on the panel and a couple people just talking about their history and what they're up to nowadays. And Nick, are you joining us on Thursday? Because you did check something down. Are you working again by then? You
I'm
won't be,
working.
so you'll have to watch it.
wow, what a
I suck.
poser.
Total loser.
Ah,
Well, we'll replace. We're
Okay.
going to replace Nick with someone else. Prika, you want to come on Thursday?
I can't.
You can't. You're busy. Okay. All right. So we'll rock and roll.
yeah,
and
we
we'll-
could talk about this after an after party.
Yeah.
the after party.
No, you don't want
Guests on the live show here or whatever it is. All right. Cool. So anyhow, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. John's got some great stuff coming up, and that way you'll know what's going on. And please go out to anybody that's on this show and support their band right now. Buy something from the website, buy something from their, a t-shirt or a CD or record, so we can all get back. Hopefully one day we'll get back to being able to hang out in the same room again. But for now, we're in the Zoom room. So
We
Thanks,
need to be able to get back into
Or just move to Florida.
or just move to the state of
Hey,
Florida.
move to Tampa.
I'm telling these now. I made my own brownies. These are the Chris Caffery sick of this shit brownies. So I did it. I did it
Oh,
on
yeah,
purpose.
icing on them too.
Wow.
Well, I did that single sick of this shit, and I'm selling. These are the sick of this shit brownies.
And
They're actually pretty good.
They're not medical marijuana brownies. They're regular.
No,
brownies.
well, trust me,
Okay.
I wouldn't have to worry about working again if I can make them like that. They sell like crazy, but
Well, anyhow, who wants to say goodbye tonight?
Goodbye tonight.
Yeah, goodbye. Might as well.
good night,
See ya.
Grandpa. Good night, Jim Bob.